Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
What was the prayer request God answered in your life in an unbelievable way? I'll tell you one of mine, and I would love to hear one of yours. But first, hey, this is Jen, and this is the Bible for Busy People podcast, where this week we've been reading through the entire book of James. I just feel like we could go for weeks and weeks just talking about this short letter that James wrote to Messianic Jews outside of Jerusalem. He was Jesus' half-brother, saw Jesus' ministry and Jesus' life, and led one of the early churches, which was going through some really hard times. And he eventually became a martyr, so he himself went through some very difficult times. There is so much wisdom packed into this book, but we are going to wrap it up this week today with James chapter 5. So as for my prayer request, a few years ago, I was praying for two specific things. The isolation of the pandemic and seeing a bunch of friends have babies gave me baby fever, so I was praying to have a third child. But similar to when we had a season of infertility before my first child, I was also unexplainably unable to get pregnant for months. Meanwhile, I was also praying for a book deal. I had started a path toward becoming an author, and I had to conquer some fears to get there, but I was waiting to see if that dream was going to become a reality. So the book deal came through in an absolutely unexpected way, which is a different story for another time. But not long after I signed the contract, I took a pregnancy test and found out I was pregnant. It was just one of those wild timing kinds of things where God said, okay, here we go. Both of these things are going to happen at once. And I had to trust that God's timing was perfect in that. I know you have stories like that in your life, and I would love to hear them if you want to get in touch with me and let me know what yours is. I am on social media. I would love to hear your God answered my unbelievable prayer kind of moment. So anyway, we've read through some hard-hitting truths from James. This is a meaty letter. It talks about a countercultural way of living in this world, and it talks about the glory of grace and wisdom and faithful deeds. It continues at first with a lot of hard-hitting words, but it ends with some encouragement just in case you, like me, need it. Reading in James chapter 5, verse 1, it says, "Now listen, you rich people, weep and wail because of the misery that is coming on you. Your wealth has rotted and moths have eaten your clothes. Your gold and silver are corroded. Their corrosion will testify against you and eat your flesh like fire." Wow. "You have hoarded wealth in the last days. Look, the wages you failed to pay the workers who mowed your fields are crying out against you. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. You have lived on earth in luxury and self-indulgence. You have fattened yourselves on the day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the innocent one who was not opposing you. Be patient then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains. You too be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near. Don't grumble against one another, brothers and sisters, or you will be judged. The judge is standing at the door. Brothers and sisters, as an example of patience in the face of suffering, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. As you know, we count as blessed those who have persevered. You have heard of Job's perseverance and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy. Above all, my brothers and sisters, do not swear, not by heaven or by earth or by anything else. All you need to say is a simple yes or no. Otherwise, you will be condemned. Is anyone among you in trouble? Let them pray. Is anyone happy? Let them sing songs of praise. Is anyone among you sick? Let them call the elders of the church to pray over them and anoint them with oil in the name of the Lord. And the prayer offered in faith will make the sick person well. The Lord will raise them up. If they have sinned, they will be forgiven. Therefore, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. Elijah was a human being, even as we are. He prayed earnestly that it would not rain, and it did not rain on the land for 3.5 years. Again he prayed, and the heavens gave rain, and the earth produced its crops. My brothers and sisters, if one of you should wander from the truth and someone should bring that person back, remember this: whoever turns a sinner from the error of their way will save them from death and cover over a multitude of sins. And so concludes the letter of James. We talked yesterday about how easy it is to isolate the last verse of James 4. but it actually fits the context of not trusting in wealth and being generous with other people. This verse made me think of the parable Jesus tells about Lazarus and the rich man in Luke chapter 16. So here's the abridged version. Lazarus was a poor man who begged at the gates of the rich man. He lived just this desolate life, and then they both die, and Lazarus is the one who is with God, while the rich man is begging for relief while in torment. And while I think this might be hyperbole on Jesus' part and maybe a bit of an exaggeration, Jesus says that where our treasure is, there our hearts will be. And he says you can gain the world and forfeit your soul. These words are meant to challenge our wealth and ease and oppression of others. God cares about the well-being of all, and it doesn't come at the expense of one group of people so another can be comfortable. It's a hard-hitting truth, but it's necessary. Next come words of encouragement to those who are suffering and potentially in a state of oppression. We are encouraged to persevere because you will be blessed. This is something James says over and over again. We don't forget that God is a God of grace and compassion. We are reminded here not to swear, but again, I don't think this is talking about four-letter words. I think it's talking about swearing to do something and not doing it. Integrity is key. Jesus said the same thing on the Sermon on the Mount, and he summed it up by saying, all you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. Jesus' grace makes us free people, and in our freedom, we choose integrity. We follow through on what we say, and we are not duplicitous. Now, at the end, this is where the encouraging part comes in. James reminds us of the power of prayer, like we talked about at the beginning. So you don't have to have a certain job title or have checked items off on a spiritual checklist to be able to pray earnestly, pray powerfully, and pray effectively. Jesus is the one who makes us righteous, so we are righteous people. And Jesus promised several times that if we ask God, we are heard and we receive. We're also encouraged that those who leave the faith can be brought back, and that's not our power working. We don't do this amazing job of convincing people. It's the Spirit at work through us. I recently took a class on spiritual authority, and honestly, I feel like sometimes it's hard to remember that we have the authority of the Spirit because the Spirit is working powerfully through us and within us. We have the authority given by Jesus to ask God for anything and to receive. We have the authority of the Spirit to be part of calling someone back from a dark path. And we are part of the Spirit covering over a multitude of blessings. So my question for you as you leave this week and enter the weekend is, do you feel powerful today? What power is God working within you? And what changes are you noticing as the Spirit is at work within you? I hope you feel powerful this weekend. I will chat with you again next week.
Thank you for listening to The Bible for Busy People. If you need prayer or want to go deeper in your faith, visit our show notes. Will you take a moment to share with a friend and leave a review? It helps the Bible get into even more people's minds and hearts. Find more podcasts that will recharge you at purposely.com.
Thanks for listening. We just wanted to take a minute to let you know that just like you and your family, Purposely is also part of a family, the Krista family of ministries. Krista helps kids and teens learn and grow in their faith at King Schools and Miracle Ranch Camp. And Krista shares Jesus with people in the poorest, most remote places through World Concern. Krista Senior Living is a community of love and care, and Krista Media is a place of hope on the radio. God is changing lives through these 5 ministries, and Krista is on mission to share the good news of Jesus. To learn more, visit Krista.org.